What is going on, YouTube people? Neo Cards and Comics here for the weekly sports card market update. We briefly interrupt Marvel Masterpieces madness. I know it's been a flurry of Marvel stuff on the channel recently with Masterpieces coming out, but it is what it is. Probably still more content to come around that set. It is one of the biggest releases in Marvel cards every year, and one of potentially the best Marvel sets we have seen in a long, long time. Let's dive back into the sports card world, though, today. I was researching for this. It's been kind of quiet, in all honesty. Not a lot of new stuff happening. It's been a little slow. Obviously, we're still kind of digging through the Panini Fanatics thing. That's why I have the Panini thing up on the screen. That was kind of the last real bombshell to happen. And then it's really been quiet since. Post-National has been definitely a quiet time, which is not surprising. I think a lot of people are probably from like the companies and stuff. They're on vacation. They're coming down off the National. Most of the news that was going to come out was going to happen at the National. So just kind of a quiet time right now. Nothing super, super crazy going on. Nothing earth-shattering. I will say I was at Card Collector 2 trade night on Friday night for about an hour or two. I stopped into the very beginning of it for a little bit before I had to get on the road. That's about a 2-hour drive for me and head back home. I thought attendance was a little later than what I'm used to. I've missed the last couple just due to various different things. Two factors could have been in play. It's a Friday night. Both the Browns were home and the Bengals were home. And I know multiple groups of people that were, and you could say it's preseason football, whatever, but they were not attending trade night because of those games. Like they had tickets or they were doing something centered around those preseason games. I know a lot of people that went to both those. So that could have affected attendance. We're creeping up on back to school time, all that stuff. So maybe that kind of held things down a little bit. It was still busy, don't get me wrong, but it was not as wild and crazy as some of his trade nights get. Just some general topics from the evening. I had a lot of discussions about the one of the hotter topics was the Panini, CJ Stroud, Bryce Young auto situation. Will Levis is included in that as well. There is a PSA 10 copy of the CJ Stroud that I have of the Panini Instant that has hit eBay. It's up to around $1,000 or so. I initially was not going to grade mine. With that one starting to pop off, I'm probably going to end up sending mine in to get graded. It does look pretty clean, at least I think it does. I will submit it in the original sealed Panini customer service mag and send it in that way. But the discussion around it was, if this is their only cards, etc. And my thought is, we kind of talked about this when we discussed Score about a week or so ago. If you're in the weeds on this stuff, you kind of know that this is going on, or it looks like it's going that way. But I still think the average collector / hobbyist / whatever probably doesn't realize yet that that might be their only auto card. And I think a lot of people are still patiently holding them, kind of waiting for that to set in. Now, I know Stroud didn't look great in his first preseason game, say which will about that. I'm not putting a lot of stock into 4 passes or something like that he had. But the potential for those to jump. A lot of people were actively looking for that card at trade, and I actually did not bring mine with me. I was going to, and then, like I said, decided to grade it. So that was kind of one of the things a lot of people were talking about. Mostly people were asking and looking for football. I know with it just being a local show or a local trade night, Bengals and Browns are always hot. Later that evening was the preseason games. I listened to the Browns games the Browns game on the way home, the first half of it, and Watson looked pretty good. Once again, it's one whole series, but it doesn't take much to move the market on this stuff. And we'll talk about that a little bit when we kind of get into more of the charts and graphs portion of the program. But football was definitely the biggest thing. The other takeaway is dealers or people that are, flippers, whatever you want to classify them as. There's definitely the undercurrent of, hey, what NBA stuff do you have that you want to move? It does feel like people are low-key trying to get into some basketball stuff during this quiet time of the NBA season, or why the focus is on NFL, because, I always historically like to look for basketball at the National, because I always feel like it's a good buying time at the National for basketball. And it feels like right now a lot of the eyeballs are on football, and to a lesser extent some of the baseball guys. So if there are particular NBA players that you like, cards players, whatever, now is probably a good time, and really over the last month probably, to really be kind of honing in on eBay auctions and kind of see what things are doing. Because, we are in early August, but we're really not that far away from NBA picking up. And I believe the World Championship games, or one of the Olympic things or something, is getting ready to fire up here. And that could potentially, in the past, we've actually seen players' prices spike off of that. I know I didn't pull any charts and graphs on it, but Cade Cunningham was getting a little buzzy from the NBA podcast circuit of people talking him up. There's a lot of buzz around Anthony Edwards, and the Team USA team is him being kind of like one of the faces of the franchise this year on that team. So if he comes out and has some big games, it could kind of spike prices a little bit potentially. Once again, we don't really know for sure. So kind of a quiet time in the NBA, but it does feel like people are kind of starting to move around in that space as they look to exit football for the most part. I famously like to, I don't really have much in the way of football right now, but in the past, I've always said, holding football in the season, generally not great, especially guys that have a lot of stuff baked into their prices. So we'll see what happens as that moves. We move closer into the actual NFL season starting, but that's kind of the vibes from the trade night. People looking for quarterbacks, as always. A lot of chit chat around, this draft class and autographs being in product, not being in product, plays specifically around those Panini Instant cards, and then kind of like a rumbling of people looking to get into NBA while no one's looking right now, essentially. I had my local show earlier today. I'm recording Saturday afternoon, obviously. The Hartville show was today. It was busy. Once again, it's always hard to judge that show because there is so much flea market traffic. The week before was the Hall of Fame show in Canton. That one was really busy. That show is always really busy. So hard to judge that one as well, because that show is always very well attended. That's a 2-day show. Shipshawana is coming up, Labor Day weekend. I have not made a decision on that show yet. Or not, if I'm going to be able to make it out for that one. It's probably going to come down to the week before or so to see if I can make it out there timing wise and kind of how things lay out. I'm probably dead on 50-50 at this point for the ship show. I'm actually kind of waiting to see what happens with some fantasy football drafts and that sort of stuff. Which reminds me, the Underdog League last week filled very, very quickly. I will be firing up another one of those. You can look for it in the description of this video once again. The only thing I ask is if you got in last week's, maybe just kind of wait a day. If you want to get in another one, I have no problems with it, but maybe just wait a day, come back tomorrow. If you want to go into your second one and see if there's spots still left, just to let some new people get in, because I know not everyone watches the videos as soon as they go up. So if you haven't gotten in yet, feel free to fire away. If you have already gotten in one, like I said, just wait, come back tomorrow. And if you want to get in a second one, if there's still spots, hit the link and it'll fire up another one. If that one fills right away, I'll post another one. I'll probably wait, or not wait quite as long until next week's weekly market update just to get it fired up. I'll just do a post on the community tab and maybe in Discord and on Twitter or something. So if you're following me on the other social platforms, you could see it on there as well. But I will fire that up. Another Best Ball League Underdog. Pretty self-explanatory on how those work. One of the kind of transitioning from, this is part news, and then it's going to lead us into some more charts and graphs pricing stuff. one of the fun things that kind of went around this week, and I'm sure everyone's posted about this, I just happened to choose Slab Stock's post because it was one of the better laid out ones. So Mike Trout is a pretty big card collector, if you may or may not realize that. He got, this is the, I've owned a few of these cards, the Ohtani striking out Trout in the World Baseball Classic. Well, you could see Trout and Ohtani dual sign these and submitted them to PSA to have them graded, and they put little phrases and stuff. I don't know what the Ohtani one says, what he wrote on there, but Mike Trout says USA. I'm assuming Ohtani says Japan. You put Captain America on one, and they numbered them 1 of 3, 2 of 3, 3 of 3, hand numbered them themselves, and sent them in. So just really, really cool. I don't know the backstory, if one is Trout's, one is Ohtani's, and one is Ohtani's interpreter, or if all 3 are Trout's. I thought all 3 were Trout's, but I could be wrong on that. Regardless, I mean, one, that's really cool. I mean, that's awesome. Like, if I was on a professional sports team and played, I think this is smart by Trout, one, to kind of almost invest in yourself, if you will, just as a little side thing, to just gather up these unique collectibles that only really you kind of have an opportunity to get. I think is just smart. It's fun. It's cool. It's great as an outsider, and it's cool to see, the athletes that we all enjoy watching collect as well and have the ability to do this sort of stuff. The funny part is, which I didn't really realize this right away, and so I have a theory on essentially what happened here. So this was a Topps Now card. A lot of these were purchased. There's a lot of them out there. I forget the exact number, but I think it's in like the 40,000s, maybe 50,000. I could be wrong. That were printed demand. So these were selling for about $5 to $10 a piece, like on the secondary market, raw. PSA 10s were doing about 60-ish when I did mine, because I like tripled up on my Costa card plus grading fee when I sold mine. I got 5 of these, and that was about a month or 2 ago, I think. And I sold off 4 of them, and I said, I'll keep one just because I want to keep one. Well, fast forward to today, the raws are now doing $50, and the PSA 10s are doing $200 to 200 plus on this. Actually, I pulled up the recent eBay sales. There they are there. There's plenty of them at 200, but you could see they just went absolutely wild. And, I could scroll back and not that far. This is August 9th. $65, $80 crossed out, $75, $65, $65, $69, $70. So that $60 to $70 range on August 8th, that's 4 days ago at time of recording. And then just scroll up the list a little bit, and you can see it's just absolutely jumped the shark. Now, why did this happen? I think, in all honesty, it is just that people did not realize that this card existed, saw it, and go, oh, that's really cool. I want one of those. And that's my theory anyway. Maybe it's more nefarious than that, because kind of like we talked about a little bit ago with the CJ Stroud auto thing. Now, if you are embedded in the hobby, the sports card world, whatever you want to call it, you are very well versed on what Topps Now is. You are getting the emails for Topps Now. You realize when these things come up, you have to be paying attention, because a lot of these cards are only up for 24 to 48 hour windows in a lot of cases. You have a limited time of when you can buy it. I think it's typically 24 hours. So if you miss it, you miss it, it's gone. So now this post has kind of gone viral on the social media sphere. And I think the casual collector / baseball fan, whatever, is now getting exposed to this card for the first time. And that has suddenly shifted demand for it astronomically in a very short period of time. So essentially, it's like marketing. It's basically Trout and Ohtani ran an advertisement for this card. And because it hit social and it went everywhere, I've seen this thing shared everywhere, well beyond sports card accounts, on mainstream ESPN. I think it was on. A lot of the mainstream networks have picked it up, and social media people on that side have talked about it. So I think it's literally someone took the card and basically ran a bunch of ran a Super Bowl commercial for it. And then everyone saw it and was like, oh, that's cool. I would like one of those too. And now the price quadrupled in a very short period of time. So I think it's really as simple as that for why this card jumped in price. And once again, I think it goes back to the Stroud thing. If, once kind of people figure that out, and all it's going to take is something to kind of like hit and it be like, oh, wait, this is the only card that exists of Stroud in an NFL uniform, that, or Ant Levis and Young as well, that it could potentially pop up in price as well. We'll see if it follows it or not. I already have mine. I'm not going crazy. I'm not buying any additional ones. I made my play on the one. We'll see what happens. I'm going to send it in for grading. But I think these kind of things, and it's kind of funny that they're both instant cards, but I think it's just kind of those of us that follow this on the day-to-day basis that are watching content, sports card content, etc., are in the zeitgeist of this stuff. And we realize once again how small the bubble of people that are in the weeds on this really is. And then something goes one step further into the more casual card collector, and then it pops off. That's my theory on what happened here with the WBC card. I could be completely wrong. I will have a video out later this week. I sold all my Ellie De La Cruz CGCs that I graded at the National, the 5 Tops Now cards. I'm going to do a separate video breaking those down and kind of the cost basis and all that different stuff with it, and kind of the different angles there, because there were some interesting sales on those cards versus auctions versus buy it nows, etc., and the whole first to market advantage thing. So, but that's my theory on what happened with this particular card. Agree with me, disagree with me, let me know in the comments down below your thoughts on it. Sticking in baseball, just a real kind of quick check-in. Pop over to Market Movers real quick here. Link in the description down below for discounts and coupon codes if you want to check out your own versions of charts and graphs. Topps Chrome Wax seems to have settled in. Hobby boxes are sitting right at under $200. I've seen them locally at shows for $175 to $180. So if you really want one, maybe head out to a local show. You might be able to get one a little bit cheaper. Save on tax, save on shipping. Jumbos basically sitting dead at $400. Once again, price may vary $10 one way here or there, but they seem to be sitting in that general price range. My video is recorded. It will be up sometime this upcoming week, where I recap everything from my 8 boxes that I opened. So you'll see that sometime this week as well. Now that all the boxes have been opened, kind of breaking down, roughly what's going where. Some of the stuff sold already, but I have everything that I opened from those boxes, complete breakdown. And there's some weird stuff going on with those boxes, man. If you opened a bunch of Topps Chrome, check out that video when I post it. I'll be very curious to see how your stuff compares to what I opened, because it was just weird. There's some, I don't know if it's correlation stuff or what, but I don't know. Weird stuff with those boxes. I'll just leave it at that and save it for the video. The other thing I wanted to kind of take a quick little peek at is the SGC stuff has slowly started to hit the market for Topps Chrome on the $9 special. Those are starting to come back in people's hands. That released at the National. So the very, very early first waves and the stuff that was graded on site has begun to come out yet. I do believe, I mean, I'm going to say slow for SGC. It means it's like 2 weeks instead of a week. Let me know in the comments down below if you've had recent orders with SGC and how quickly or not quickly they are moving. I don't think they're like air quotes backed up at all. I think they're still recovering from the National a little bit. But I thought I heard stuff taking like 2 or 3 weeks, which for SGC is long. Now, I know they just shifted offices and stuff as well, plus the National, so there could be a little outside factors there. But I'll be interested to kind of track the pop report as we go, just because Topps Chrome is one of the bigger sets. I did pull up the gem rate data on it. So far, only 672 have hit the pop report. I am sure a lot more than that have already gone. That's a 46% gem rate on those. The one thing to keep in mind, and I would take a hard look at this before you send stuff off, at what things are currently going for. So you can see here, Josh Young base card. This is sitting at $20. It got a 10. They spent $9 to grade it. You're going to lose 10 to 15% in eBay fees. So that's like $2. Let's just call it 10%. That's $2. Now they're charging for shipping, but there's still all like the time and materials and the risk involved that if you didn't get a 10, you're really sunk. And then this card is also sitting at 20, not even selling. So even at the $9 thing, I got a lot of questions about, hey, what are you doing with your Topps Chrome stuff? Are you going to take advantage of the $9 SGC thing? And I'm going to send my stuff to PSA. It's just easier to move. But you got to be careful. It's very tempting to grade those base cards with the $9 SGC thing. And some of them you'll be okay on. An Adley, a Corbin, those sorts of guys, I think you'll be all right on. It's the next tier down where I think you get in that little bit of a danger zone. Like here's a Gunnar Henderson. This is at $30 with 7 hours to go. We'll see how that finishes up. But right here, here's a Jordan Walker for $10 or SGC 10 for $30 best offer. Let's assume, I don't know, that goes for $25. You made a nice $10 profit on that, and you can grind out that way for sure, but you just got to be careful because it doesn't take much for that stuff to drop down one more level. Because remember, that Jordan Walker is sitting at $30 with limited graded supply on the market. We just looked. There's only less than 700 cards back so far from SGC. There's going to be more coming. And then the PSA stuff is going to be coming as well. So kind of keep all that in mind as you are looking at these prices, that's priced at that and it's sitting and not moving. And there is more supply coming down the road. So just kind of be aware of that. Now, obviously, refractors, prisms, that stuff's a little bit of a different story. I'm mostly talking strictly base cards here because that $9 fee is very, very tempting to just kind of send everything and let it ride. And that's, once again, assuming that you're getting 10s on all this stuff. So just kind of some general thoughts on that one. Let's talk a little football. A little bit of a different angle on this one. So football prices have not really shifted too much one way or the other. Where we are at right now is if you ripped a bunch of college football product, the early score legacy stuff that's already come out, no name guys from last year's stuff, it's this stuff cracks me up. I pulled out one specific example of this. There are a few others, but this one hit close to home. So it's the easiest one to discuss. This was also a big topic at Card Collector 2 Trade Night on Friday night. We are definitely in silly season. What do I mean by that? This is, and tell me if you've ever heard of this guy before, but he was the talk of the weekend. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, UCLA quarterback, the third or fourth string quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. He had a very, very good Hall of Fame game. He also played really, really well on Friday night. Now, this is against third and fourth stringers, or fourth and third stringers. He looked really, really good. Obviously, a little dangerous to put a lot of stock in that, but boy, oh boy. These are his prices a month ago. You could see here, this is his base auto, Bowman Chrome University, $5.50. This is the refractor version of that card, $10.50. Nice looking card, decent, Bowman first, got the whole thing, college uniform, whatever. Fast forward to today. Refractor auto, $62. Base autos, that's 65 scratched out. Here's a gold that went for 162. Here's a base at 45 scratched out, a base at 80 scratched out, another refractor auto for 56, 45, 35. You can see it goes back down again kind of quickly here. $50 for a refractor auto, $40 for a base auto. So basically went from $4 to $10 to, let's just call it $50 to $60. The refractor autos 6x'd in about a week. And the other ones went a little bit less than that. These preseason guys that are going to pop off, just sell it as fast as possible. If you ripped a bunch of this stuff or bought in the breaks or just kind of have this stuff laying around, this is your time to shine. Go dig into your dollar boxes that you had stuff laying in, find this stuff and pull it out. Pay attention to, a good thing to follow if you're not watching, hours and hours of NFL preseason football is, just follow the fantasy sites. Refresh Roto World or whatever it is these days, and scroll through the news blogs every morning after, the little snippets that they put up about each individual player performance of everyone that kind of popped off, and look at those names, and maybe you got some of their stuff laying around, and odds are their price is probably spiked up. It's extra juiced right now because, once again, we'll use Dorian here as an example. There's not a lot of supply. They don't have much, if any, in the way of NFL uniform stuff. He has a Panini Instant Auto. I think that one jumped as well. There's just not a lot of cards out there, and all of a sudden, everyone is looking them up. So just kind of keep that in mind. Interesting times. This is the time of year for that stuff, as the starters in the NFL preseason play less and less now. The backups and reserves play more and more, and they just have a little bit more time to pop off. Now, I would never buy into these guys at these price points. This is more for kind of clearing out your inventory if you have some of this stuff laying around. So that is all I got for you, boys and girls, today. No basketball specific charts, but we kind of touched on NBA earlier. Kind of the quiet time right now. It's just everyone kind of getting ready for football, and quiet news cycle that could change on a dime. I mean, it's quiet in one regard, as we had one tentpole thing with the Panini versus Fanatics, and then beyond that, things have kind of settled down a little bit. No one else is really doing anything crazy, but give it time. Give it time. As we all know, the drama does not stop in the sports card world between the people and the companies doing dumb stuff. So, upcoming videos for this week. I have the recapping Topps Chrome, all the boxes that I broke. So if you don't like sitting through box breaks, but you're just curious what the hits look like from 8 hobby boxes of Topps Chrome, that is the video for you. I will have a video breaking down the sales results from the CGC Elly De La Cruz Topps Now play, if you will. And then I have another idea for a video taking shape about evolving pop counts and times to sell and kind of things that affect cards coming down in value, revolving around Elly De La Cruz stuff. That'll be the example. It applies to anything, but Elly would be the example. And that one, I got a little bit of work to do on that one. But I just was one of those things where I was just looking at stuff and stumbled into something. And it's kind of common sense, but it's always interesting when you see it laid out so cleanly, of kind of like cause and effect, basically. So that's on the docket as well. Probably some more Marvel Masterpieces stuff as well, sprinkled in here and there. But everyone have a fantastic week. Hop in the Fantasy League if you haven't yet. We'll catch you, boys and girls, on the next one. Peace.